Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Sunday night All Things Natural Net live stream on Amateur Radio Net, provided over the Overlook Mountain Amateur Radio Club repeater via amateur radio on the 2-meter frequency, 146.805 megahertz, and streamed to you live on YouTube. Hello, everyone in chat. Let me just go through and welcome everyone quickly. Welcome Barbaria Queensland, Kirsten Lee, Les Hints, YTFP Chris, Chris Jarvis, and Geeky Gardens. Hello everyone. I'm going to go ahead and start the net here. I'm going to have to clear the frequency because there's an ongoing conversation, so you get to see how that process works tonight. Hope you can all hear me okay. Let me know if you can't.
Experimental band, which they had, there's a reason for them, so that we can learn, so that people can learn how to use them. And where are you going to get your, commercial radio repairman if they don't get a start in ham radio at like age 10?
KD2IN. Good evening, gentlemen. If you guys could finish up your conversation, that would be great. I need to commandeer this frequency for the Sunday night All Things Natural Net. Of course, you're all welcome to participate.
KJ6KEE to KD2IN, how's it going? KJ6KEE clear for the net.
KJ6KEE, great to hear from you. Glad to hear you are alive and kicking. Very good. Well, I'm going to go ahead and start the net, and hope you guys will join us. This is KD2IN Net Control for the Sunday Night All Things Natural Net. The Sunday Night All Things Natural Net is an amateur radio net provided by the Overlook Mountain Amateur Radio Club, located in beautiful Ulster County, New York. On the 146.805 megahertz frequency with a PL tone of 103.5 and a negative shift of 600 kilohertz. This net is dedicated to farming, garden, ecology, and the like, but often our conversations go to a broader scope than that. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. This is KD2IN Net Control, looking for check-ins. Spark.
KJ6KEE, Richie in Washington Falls.
KD2SQO, Brian, Bravo Romeo Yankee, Alpha November in Kingston. This is KD2UEN, Bill in Ulster Park.
Alright, so far we have 3 check-ins, KJ6KEE, KD2SQO, and KD2UEN. Let's start at the top of the list with KJ6KEE. How are you, Rich? It's been a long time. KJ6KEE, you're up. He must have had a radio issue.
Hey, I just walked in the door. I'm just putting all my stuff down. I'm listening though.
Alright, very good. We'll come back around to you. Sorry, didn't mean to put pressure on you. Alright, we'll roll on down to KD2SQO. Brian, how are you this evening?
Hanging in there, CJ. Just saying hi. How y'all doing?
Alright, very good. I'm doing well. I hope you're doing well also. Let's roll on down to KD2UEN. Bill.
Hey, CJ, feeling good tonight. Had a quick question for you on the grapes. I didn't prune them grapevines yet. Kind of forgot about them. So I'm going to leave them alone till springtime. But what's the best time for really pruning those grapes so I get the best crop in?
KD2 and Net Control for the Sunday Night All Things Natural Net. I think usually February or March around here. I think it coincides pretty much with most of the orchard crops. But you should double check that on Google. Grapes are not my forte, so to speak, although it's definitely one I want to add to the list.
KD2UEN. Okay, thank you, CJ.
You're very welcome, very welcome. And I want to come back to the fox hunt briefly. I know you participated in that this weekend, and wanted to share that with everyone on the net here. But let's just pause here and see if there's any further check-ins at this time, and then we'll roll back through the list, and hopefully Richie's had a chance to get in the door and set his things down and settle in. All right, this is KD2 and Net Control. Looking for any further check-ins, please call now.
W2 RWS, Rob, Pine Plains.
Here's Jim, K2BHM, Saugerties.
All right, very good. And that also recognizes W2 RWS, Rob, and K2 BHM, Jim. Let's go on down and greet those guys, and then we'll roll back to the top of the list. W2 RWS, how are you tonight, Rob?
Very well, CJ. I will talk about the fox hunt. I was on that. But I also want to talk to you about something. I had a great idea. I thought I was walking my dog and collected tonight pampas grass seeds, I guess, you know, the tops as they flower. And I'm looking it up, and it says that's not how you do it at all. To propagate it, you need to cut the plant into hunks or clumps, and that's not my property. I thought I would grow it from seed. So I'd like to ask you about that.
All right, very good. Well, I don't know much about pampas grass, but if you looked it up and that's what it says, it's probably accurate. Oftentimes, plants that produce seeds don't necessarily produce viable seeds. I'm not sure what the purpose and nature of that is, but I know there are several other species of plants that divide are typically divided by root only. It's possible the pampas grass seed would germinate and grow. I don't know, you probably should take a Google on that and see what you find on that. It's not my area forte either, so to speak. But we'll come back to that conversation, and I'll also want to hear your perspective on the fox hunt as well. We'll roll on down to Jim, K2 BHM. How are you this evening?
Thanks, CJ. Doing good.
Thank you,
Jim,
Kiki.
K2BHM here. I didn't participate in the fox hunt Saturday, but I went there just to hang out and so forth. I can't go traipse through the woods and all that with my back. But very interesting. Steve did a very good job on the presentation and explaining things, and everybody had a great time. Back to you.
Awesome, very good. Yeah, for those who don't know, Steve, K2GOG, sort of served as the host for that setup to help people understand how to use fox hunting and all. And I guess we'll just pause here and explain for anyone who might be listening and doesn't know what fox hunting is. Fox hunting is basically trying to find a hidden transmitter. And so this is sort of an exercise we do, but it's also used for finding nuisance stations, jammers, and other pirates of the like. Anyway, we'll just do a pause here for any further check-ins, and then we'll roll back to the top of the list. This is KD2 IIN Net Control for the Sunday Night All Things Natural Net. If there's any further check-ins, please call now. Negatai. All right, no further check-ins recognized at this time. Hopefully, Rich has had a chance to get in the door and settle down. KJ6, KEE, you're up.
Yeah, hey, how's it going? Thanks for giving me a minute there. I just got off work, so it's good to be back on the radio. I kind of dropped it for a while. I dropped off for a while there. A couple reasons, but yeah, it wasn't anything bad. It was just I got busy. You know, I was working for Best Buy. I'm working for Geek Squad now, and I've been there over 4 years now. So it's really cool. I'm always sharing my ham knowledge with people who come in. Anybody looking for radio stuff, it's always like we end up talking for a half hour.
Awesome, awesome. Glad to hear it, and glad to hear your voice back. And no worries, I get it. Life often gets in the way of some of our hobbies. Anyway, glad to hear you back, and glad to have you along for the net. Let's roll on down to Brian, KD2SQO.
K2SQO, just gonna pass. Onward. I don't have anything to add, I'll admit.
Fair enough, good enough. We'll roll on down to KD2UEN. Bill, why don't you tell us a little bit about your experience at the Fox Hunt this weekend?
KD2UEN here. Thank you, CJ. We had a really great time. It was my first time. I'm a new ham, so we...
Thank you.
Jim was
Peter.
there, and of course Rob.
Appreciate that. I'll relay that.
Rob pretty much stole the show. He found the first one. He was close to it. We had a problem with it because it shut off. Somebody must have transmitted or hit a PTT button, and it shut the unit down. Let me drop for a second. Zane had a good time. It was a really nice activity. You know, if you're a couple to go out and do. You're out in the woods, you're out in nature. It's like taking a walk in the park. And really, it was a beautiful day. We learned so much. K2GOG, Steve is really a great guy. He put on the whole thing and spent a lot of time, did a great presentation. Got to see a lot of faces that we talk to and don't know. We know them, but we don't see them. And we had the opportunity to socially distance and actually get to be, you know, within 6 feet at times. We were 6 foot distancing, and we had a good time. It was good to meet people. Just a great time. I learned so much. It's amazing. Attenuation especially was important for me because my radio has a really good receiver on it. I'm going to drop for a second. So I had a really strong signal, and he was only putting out a watt on the transmitter, but I just was pegging a 9 on my S meter, so it was very tough for me. But some of the old veterans there, like Rob, he can give you a little more information. But it was just an overall great time, wonderful day. Spent outside, enjoying a hobby that is really great, and doing the outdoor stuff with it, you know, not just sitting at a bench talking on a radio. So, you know, it was really a different aspect of ham radio, and I really enjoyed it. We both did. We're looking forward to the next one. So I'll put it back to you, CJ. I hope I didn't talk too much. KD2UEN, back to net control.
No, not at all, Bill. Thanks for sharing your experience with us. And yeah, that's one of the biggest things with fox hunting is attenuation. And for anyone who might be listening who doesn't know what attenuation is, you're basically trying to reduce the signal enough that you can notice a distinguishable difference in signal strength so you can better locate the transmitter. With that, we'll roll on down to Rob, W2RWS. And I have a comment here in the chat, Rob, that I wanted to relay to you here. Peter from Barbaria, Queensland says you can grow that grass you're asking, pampas grass I think it was. You can grow it from seed, but it may take a couple of years to mature. So it looks like you can actually use those seeds for propagation. So I hope that answers your question. I'd love to hear from you about the fox hunt as well. This is KD2IIN Net Control for the Sunday night All Things Natural Net. Hey, Black Tree. How you doing, Julia?
Well, I'm retired and have patience, so I don't mind just taking a couple of years. That's good to know. Maybe I'll establish it in pots and see what happens and then transplant them outdoors. But I did get quite a bit of seed today with my dog. Anyway, the fox hunt was fabulous. I was the only one that brought an arrow antenna for satellites, which Steve said, it's kind of too pointy, too directional, and too sensitive. And I did find that I was overwhelmed. My signal meter didn't move when I did a 360. Yeah. Then I went to the third harmonic, which Steve explained in great detail. And I also discovered the attenuator, the ATT button on my radio I didn't know I have. And with the combination of that, when I got close, and that was the big thing, when I got close, it made all the difference in the world. Let me let it drop. So I came up on a rise onto a flat and still heard the signal and walked right to the edge of the lake and still heard the signal on my third harmonic attenuated and said, gee, I'm out of land. It can't be in the water. It's got to be on the other side of the lake. So I kind of got a bearing on the other side of the lake and walked to it, and that's when the thing stopped working. I don't know exactly what happened, but I got really close to it initially. So I thought that was fabulous. I learned about attenuation and also the third harmonic.
Awesome, excellent experience, and some very valuable lessons learned. Yeah, it's interesting how that whole thing works, and I would not have opted for or thought of a directional antenna with that much gain, but it sounds like that makes a lot of sense if you have the way to attenuate it, and that second, third harmonic kind of thing definitely gives you a tremendous amount of attenuation, provided you have a receiver that actually does some filtering. Some of these newer, cheaper radios are pretty unfiltered, and you pick up pretty much everything. Anyway, I'm glad that worked out for you. That's awesome. And let's roll on down to Jim, K2BHM. I'm sure he has some insight on this as well. And then we'll do another opportunity for check-ins. So, Jim, K2BHM, pick it up. This is KD2IN Net Control. Yeah, we usually don't blow up TVs. Bad hams do that.
And reading on the harmonics. FCC specs, your transmitter has to be like...
hey, Darth Rambo. Oh, KJ6KE. Welcome.
And other spurious radiation and so forth. And your receivers, you want them pretty much deaf to harmonics, otherwise you get interference from other services. Yep. If you're using the cheap Baofeng, I could see where it wouldn't be that filtered and that great of a radio, but then you can't use it because the signal strength meter doesn't work that good. So you got to use a more reputable radio, which should have more reputable filtering. But I guess it's in the fact that he's poking out a watt. So on the third harmonic, you might be getting out maybe a couple milliwatts, and that's enough at that close a distance to give you a direction. I don't know. A lot to think about here. I got to go through the math. Back to you, KTVHM.
Very good, Jim. Excellent. All excellent considerations, so thanks for your insight on that. All right, let's just take a pause here and see if there's any further check-ins. This is KD2IIN Net Control for the Sunday night All Things Natural Net. If there's any further check-ins, please call now. Snow. Ugh. That's a 4-letter word in my book.
This is KD2 TQS Ken.
Awesome. All right, the net recognizes KD2 TQS. Ken, how are you this evening?
Doing pretty good. Very productive day. Had a lot of fun yesterday at the Fox Hunt. I quite often say perhaps more than any one of the other people because I was sitting around getting photos and videos, so I got to see everybody in action with all the toys. Picked up a lot of good points.
day to day, and I'm enjoying this role. Back to them.
Fantastic, fantastic. I'm glad to hear it. Yeah, I actually wanted to get over there and get some video myself. I wanted to share it with my channel, but I did not make it over there. I'm glad someone got over and got some photos and video of it. If nothing else, just to share with other club members. Fantastic. Well, let's just pause one more time, make sure we haven't missed anybody on check-ins, and we'll roll back to the top list to KJ6KEE. This is KD2IIN Net Control. Looking for any further check-ins for the Sunday Night All Things Natural Net. Thanks, Richie. I appreciate it. All right, no further check-ins recognized. We're going back to KJ6KEE. Richie, pick it up, who is also in the YouTube chat.
Yeah, this is really cool.
All right, I'm glad you're enjoying it. Any further comments before we roll on down?
I'm watching you in the chat on YouTube, and I'm listening to the whole net, and it adds a whole another dimension that ham radio is pretty much just getting to experience for the first time. So I think this is really cool. This is such a great way to get some younger people involved too, honestly, because the next generation of ham radio, of amateur radio enthusiasts, is already walking around waiting to be shown ham radio.
I couldn't have said it better, Richie. Right on. Yeah, that's part of why I share these streams on my channel. I figure the more people we can get interested, the better off the hobby can be. It's with all the cell phone and internet technology that's available today, I've run into quite a few people who have no idea what ham radio is. And I remember 20 years ago, you'd run into somebody and they might not be a ham radio operator or have interest in it, but they at least knew what it was. So I figured it's time to get the message going back out again. I love that cross-tie networking thing. I like to tie all these pieces together, farming and radio and internet and greenhouses and computers and down the list. So I'm glad you're enjoying it, and thank you for the kind words. Let's roll on down to Brian, KD2 as QO. $15 to take the test, Julia. That's it. It's not that bad. The radio equipment's more expensive. KD2 SQO, if you're still around, pick it up. All right, nothing heard. We'll roll on down to KD2 UEN. Bill.
Hey, KD2 UEN control. Yeah, CJ, I'd like to give some kudos to Ken.
Bacon. What about
Took
bacon?
pictures and really documented everything very well. I can't wait to see his finished product. I know it takes a while. And I don't want to mention he has, where he has his pictures posted. That's up to him. But really stuck with us. Got some great shots and very, very professional.
No, it's easy now. 35
never
question
had
exam.
to have an event. I think I would have him
For
come
tech.
and do the pictures for it. I gotta say, he has all the equipment and got all the moves, and so we had a great time. I would suggest to anybody listening, if you really want to have some
Nice
fun
YT.
times, it's really a great little hobby here, and this aspect of it, the fox hunting. Let me drop for a minute.
That's the inline problem, isn't it, YT? End up eating it.
The fox hunting, KD2UEN for
True,
ID.
Julia.
The fox hunting is really great. It was my first time to seen it, and we both had a good time. It's especially delightful when you have somebody to do it with. You can work as a team. It's great. I look forward to doing this every time there's a fox hunt. I hope to be there, and it's really a good way to get out, get some fresh air. You can be socially distanced and yet get to see some of the people that you talk to, and also it's quite exciting when you get near that fox. So I would recommend it. Steve was an excellent teacher, and I've also talked to other people on the net who have fox hunted and certainly are on cue with it. So we'll put it back to you, CJ. It's Kitty 2UE, and back to net control.
All right, very good, Bill. I share all those sentiments, and yeah, it reminds me of when I was 14, before all the cell towers and all that stuff came out. I was playing with amateur radio. I even had my own little auto patch so I could make phone calls out of my bike. That was a lot of fun, and I really connected with a lot of really cool people, and some of them are still friends here on the Repeater and in the club today. Yeah, it's a great community and a great hobby and super flexible. You know, I think people think of it as just, you know, sitting in front of a radio, but there is so much more to the hobby. I mean, there's everything, you know, from satellites to VHF to HF to DMR and on down the list. So it's a really flexible hobby. It's a hobby you can get into and never get bored of throughout your entire life. And it's something you can always come back to if you get too busy with other things. So it's a good standby for sure. All right, let's roll on down to W2RWS. This is KD2 and Net Control for the Sunday night All Things Natural Net.
CJ, what's the website on YouTube? I'd like to tune that in. I made a Fox. I bought one of those Picons, I guess, hidden transmitter controller by Bionics, BYONICS, and that's the gizmo that makes the transmitter transmit on a regular basis with Morse code. I kind of didn't know how to program it and stopped, so I'm going to hit up Steve and actually get this thing working and actually practice. I think that'd be awesome. Guy and I were talking about taking it out in the woods and just experimenting with it. So I thought that would be
Sorry
neat.
to hear that,
Yeah, what's the
Kristen.
YouTube video?
All right, so the channel is the Farmacy Seeds Network. Farmacy spelled F-A-R-M-A-C-Y, and seeds as in plural, the Farmacy Seeds Network. Yeah, and if you just search that on YouTube, it should pop right up for you. I wanted to comment on something else you said, but I lost my train of thought because I was watching chat as well. Anyway, I'll put it back to you.
Well, so I already made one in a waterproof box. It's a little tight, but it all fits.
Transmitter.
I just didn't know how to program that gizmo to Morse code. And I really want to refine my antenna, get more actuators. I won a prize.
Nice,
It was a
Richie.
kit that I got to solder together, which is an actuator. This is kind of turning me on to make other ones. I did see the one that Steve brought, which is a bar with about 10 different little switches that you can go in sensitivity to lessen your sensitivity. But he didn't want to carry that around. Steve also showed how he actually took the antenna out of the socket slightly and walked around with his antenna pointed either before or after his body and used his body as a blockage and was very close. This guy is incredible.
Yeah, there's not a lot of local stuff, Richie. Yeah, that's just a really in-depth understanding of radio, and Steve really does have that. He's very well versed in pretty much all aspects of amateur radio, so he's an excellent coach and mentor, and I'm glad you gained a lot of value out of that. That's awesome. We actually, my Ted, K2MKD, and Dave, K2JLV, and I, and Aaron, KC2NDA, have for years been tossing around the idea of using an Arduino or a Raspberry Pi for a fox hunt transmitter, along with a camera so you could watch the person go by when they miss it, and all sorts of other bells and whistles, but none of us have had the time to get that project online, so I'm glad there's at least some fox hunting going on in the club, because that is definitely a very interesting portion of the hobby and very beneficial for learning about our radio frequency propagation and the like. All right, let's roll on down to Jim, K2BHM.
Thanks, CJ. K2BHM here.
I'm glad that cleared it up,
Steve
Kylie.
had
Thank you.
I forget the brand name, but he had an HT.
You can YT. You still need a
inside
transmitter,
the,
though.
ammo box.
Well, not technically. That's a long story. Yes, you can.
He had some sort of a microprocessor that he programmed. I don't think it was Arduino, but it could be. So the Arduino was doing all the controlling and putting the code in and stuff like that. And it was interfacing to the radio through the connections you use for a speaker mic.
More than that.
Made it all nice, self-contained little box. I think he had the radio set up in a split mode so that he could send commands to it and access the microprocessor from outside, so he didn't have to actually physically go to the Fox and do any tweaking. There was just the box, an antenna, and an activity light on it. No other outside controls, so everything was radio link and microprocessor controlled. K2BHM.
Yeah, we talked about something along those lines, a combination of DTMF packet and Wi-Fi access to it. Yeah, it would be fun just to play around with that whole project, and you could go absolutely crazy on it. Of course, there's lots of options and bells and whistles and things you could do. You know, we talked about making it as a person, as the search went on, or, you know, if you saw somebody on the camera, you could, like, change the frequency of the transmission to make it harder to find the Fox. All sorts of stuff like that, but I don't know. Anyway, very interesting insight on that, Jim. Thank you. Let's roll on down to KD2TQS. Ken.
KD2TQS. Two things. Going back to your list of options, don't forget that ham radio allows you to broadcast slow scan TV, as well as is required if you're doing point of view aerial drones, because they use ham frequencies. So there's lots of other uses for it other than just talking and chit chat. So,
very true.
Yeah, Steve was amazing. I followed him very rapidly, watching him do the radio with just an HT. The HT is a reader, meter on it, but just watching him adjust the antenna up or down, pivot his body, this and that, and running rapidly and finding it. It was amazing just to watch that, especially since he took one signal at the bottom of the hill, got to the top of it. Got to the top of the hill to check, spinning around, he goes, it's here, it's real close, and I'm standing there laughing because I videoed the guy setting it, and he's like 5 feet to the left of it, and just didn't see it because it was very well camouflaged, but it was just amazing to see how quickly he could take the radio apart, up, down, this, that, with the antenna on, off, holding a millimeter or two, and vary the frequency enough to get and spin his body and get the accuracy of it. It was just amazing. So, and I definitely can see where we could have a ball with a whole bunch of different scenarios for the Fox Hunt. Calls on my old days. Yeah, we could have fun with that. So, that's all I have. Back to that.
Very interesting. I couldn't agree more, Ken. That's awesome. And it's just there's so many things to say. I'm not even sure what to say. So I'll just leave it at that. You said it pretty well. Let's do a pause here and see if there's any further check-ins, and then we'll roll back through the list here. This is KD2I and Net Control for the Sunday Night All Things Natural Net. Looking for any further check-ins, please call now. KD2 RFI.
KD2
Thanks, Kyler.
RFI, Bob.
Hey, Brent. Good to see you, Brent. All right, the net recognizes KD2 RFI. Bob, how are you this evening? Good to hear you in the mix.
Good evening, everyone. I'm doing well. I actually just turned the radio on a few minutes ago. I've been kind of busy tonight.
Thanks, Brent.
Didn't get a chance to get out here on time.
You were a big part of that.
Finished bottling up all my honey finally for the season, and rather than that, just getting stuff done around the house, cleaning up after all that whole process. But it's all said and done, so doing well.
I usually
doing well.
run this one.
I wasn't expecting to hear about the fox hunt, but I'm listened to it, never done it, never tried it. It definitely sounds pretty interesting. KD2 RFI back then.
All right, very good. I'm glad you got your honey all jarred up. I know that was a big task out of you. Yeah, the fox hunt thing is awesome. I'm glad we got to have this discussion. I'm glad we got to share it with the YouTube viewers, because it's a really cool part of the hobby, and nobody really has any clue what it's about. So it's great to share that. Did you end up getting jars at Williams, or did you find jars elsewhere, just out of curiosity, before we roll back through rotation here?
Yeah, no, I never shot across
That's a
the
solid
creek there
bet.
to check out Williams.
Thanks, Brent.
I think soon after our discussion, Wally World started having them on the shelf here and there. So I was picking up like 3 to 5 cases.
You helped with that a lot, that video
I picked
quality.
up the last 4 cases today. So, and last 2 nights, that's all we've been doing is, bottling it and jarring it and getting it ready to get to those who want it. So it's definitely been pretty busy. Quick follow-up. I know last week I talked about that top bar hive. It looked like it was getting robbed out, and yeah, it's definitely getting robbed out. If she's not dead now, she'll be dead by December, I'm pretty sure. So that's unfortunate. I'm sure I do have a few
Thanks,
options,
Richie.
but at this point, I think it's just so far gone.
Thanks,
I'm
Darth
gonna
Lambo.
let nature take its course.
Appreciate the super
Try
chat.
and rebuild on it next year. So, but other than that, that's all we got going around here. I just figured I'd jump in real quick and let you guys continue on with fox hunting talk, because I am enjoying it, picking up pointers here and there. You
Nice,
two
fine,
are fine
Peter.
back then.
All right, very good, Bob. I'm glad you found the jars. Glad they finally started getting them back in stock. It seems like those supply chains have taken forever to recover, and that doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but I guess it is what it is. I'm sorry to hear about your top bar hive getting robbed out, but I guess there's not much you can do about it. Mine was kind of sluggish the last couple times I looked, but then when I did my last feeding, they were cranking in and out. So I think they're still solid. So hopefully all 4 hives will make it through to the spring, and I can pump some swarms out of that top bar next year if that ends up working out like I think it will. All right, let's roll back to the top of the list. This is KD2IIN. We're going to roll back to the top of the list at KG6KEE. Thanks so much, Rich. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man, I appreciate your dedication. So keep it up. I'm going to keep watching, and I'm going to keep listening. And because of the YouTube component of it, I'm definitely more involved. So I appreciate it.
Fantastic. I'm glad you're enjoying that, and it's nice to hear. Nice to hear that someone's actually appreciating that from the radio side of things. I know my viewers definitely do, but nice to hear other appreciations of it as well. And I don't know if you know her or not, but KD2RFI, who I was just talking to, also has a YouTube channel. It's Black Bear Apiary, and you should check that out as well, because that's an awesome channel. He's got skydiving and honeybees and tree cutting, chainsaw stuff. Awesome channel. All right, let's roll on down to KD2 SQO. Brian, if you're still around. Sounds like Brian checked out. We'll roll on down to Bill, KD2UEN.
KD2UEN. Thank you there, CJ. Yeah, and I'd also recommend anybody that does any of this fox hunting, make sure you bring some
Yeah, it
food
is
with
good.
you. We brought some sandwiches. that
Kirsten,
came in
thank
handy,
you.
'cause,
Thank you for the
I
super
guess
chat.
we were there probably close to 4 hours with
Thank you guys so
2
much.
hunts and a couple of demonstrations.
Ian's in here. Hi,
so
Ian.
we got a little learning session. and
Geeky, can
then
you drop
we,
his channel?
went to the
Canadian
first
Beekeeper.
one, and then we did a little demonstration up there with the fox out of the hole, let's say, and on the picnic bench, and we got a chance to try our transmitters and really see how it's zoned. And then they hit it again, and we had a little bit longer hunt. So, but you get mighty hungry. Let me drop. You can work up a pretty good appetite because you're out walking around, good exercise, and out in fresh air. It make you hungry and thirsty.
Thank you, Gigi.
So anybody
And drop
that
your channel while you're at it.
plans on doing this, I would tell them to make sure they pack something to munch on, and they plan on spending, a couple, 3 hours, 4 hours out there doing this. It's a good time. All right, we'll put it back to you, CJ. KD2UEN. Back to that.
All right, very good, Bill. Yeah, that's good advice. Always bring snacks and some food. It's pretty hungry work chasing around after transmitters, and you're using a lot of energy moving around and a lot of brain power. And you really do rip through the fuel doing both of those. All right, let's roll on down to W2RWS. Rob.
Well, I got an idea. Maybe we need a food wagon there. We can flip some hamburgers. And the other, my backup plan was
I'm going to twist
steak.
your
I
arm,
was
Geeky.
actually going to have a piece
Thank
of
you.
raw steak attached to the Fox and let my Greyhound do all the hard work. I'm sure he'd find it in about 5 minutes, or maybe 3 minutes.
Thanks, Richie. I don't know. We could try it.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Steve was great. He explained a lot in the beginning and in the second, in between the first and second round. I agree with Bill. Got to have some food. I brought some water, an apple, an energy bar in there, and it was just it was an
Gotcha,
awesome
Brad.
thing to do. I think we should do it quarterly or more in the summer. I understand Limemark does it, and they jump in their cars. And one guy was telling me he drives around the building with the antenna out the window of his car to use the building to block the signal. So he knows,
Thanks,
north, south, east, or west, which I thought was fantastic. And these guys go quite a distance. One guy
Try
was
not to
telling
clear
me,
my throat.
I think the Fox was outside of JFK somewhere, in some sort of field.
Okay, Kylie, have a great night.
That's
Thanks for
huge.
coming in.
Let it drop a second. Steve was saying that he's got a couple tricks up his sleeve where he would put a rotating antenna, a rotating beam on it, which would really drive you crazy, I would imagine.
Oh yeah. There's lots of ways to mess with how you detect the Fox, and lots of things you can do to cloak it behind buildings and objects. Change the radiation and pattern of the antenna. There's all kinds of stuff you can do. But yeah, sounds like you learned a lot, and it really got your mind thinking about all the other possibilities. So I'm glad you enjoyed it. All right, let's roll on down to Jim, K2BHM. Thanks, Richie.
Thanks, CJ. K2BHM. One thing I did learn Saturday, you want to bring your manual with you for your radio, because most of us just throw a bunch of frequencies on the computer and burn it in with chirp. But you need to be able to put something, a different frequency in, and you need to be able to tweak it a little bit one way or the other, maybe go to VFO mode. You might have a section there in the menu where you can increase the attenuation or decrease the RF gain of the receiver. Maybe you can scan for PL tones. Lots of little tricks and stuff like that people were kind of unprepared for because they didn't have their radio manual and weren't familiar with the menus. So learning curve. K2BHM.
Totally agree. It's an excellent opportunity beforehand to get intimately familiar with the radio and how to program it in the field, how to use it, how to adjust the frequencies, how to make all those subtle changes. Because, boy, there's nothing more frustrating than trying to actually use your radio for communications in the field and not having a good grasp on how to make those adjustments. I've been in that situation before myself, not for fox hunting, but just wanting to get on the radio or needing to make a call, and I had to figure out the radio, and it's not good. Like if you end up in an emergency situation, you don't want to be playing with how to use the radio. You want to know how to use it and be able to go and do what you got to do. So excellent points there, Jim. All right, let's roll on down to KD2TQS. Ken. Brad, we'll have to talk about the 5G stuff.
KD2TQS.
It's a complex topic.
Your conversation. Listening to two coyotes having a conversation back and forth across the valley. Very fun, very fun. Well, I'll be careful with what I say there. It was very, very nice to hear nature talking, because the fox just gave this weird beeping noise every once in a while, and the rest. But these guys were quite melodious, so they went quiet now. So maybe I should take the cue and go quiet and just pass that through.
Oh, that's awesome. It's always nice to hear nature weigh in on things. So thanks for sharing that, Ken. All right, let's roll on down to KD2 RFI. Bob.
KD2 RFI. Not a whole lot more to add. I am thoroughly enjoying this. I didn't realize these fox hunts were so intricate with having to block signals and rotating transmitter antennas and hidden signals. And I guess my train of thought, I just kind of perceived them as, hey, here's your frequency. The signal's being transmitted on, go find it. I thought they were pretty simple, something like that.
There'll be more, Rich. Don't worry. There'll be more of them.
I just kind of thought it was all in
Obviously, the fire's lit.
antenna. And finding a good directional antenna that'll give you a solid read in direction.
Okay, we'll see you later, Jay.
travel. So, I don't know. I'm definitely enjoying it. I don't have a lot to add. Just evidently, I don't know as much as I thought I knew. KD2 RFI.
If there's one thing I learned as I go through life, I don't know as much as I think I know. And boy, I'll tell you what, you really evolve your learning curve when you stop thinking you have things solved. It's hard to get yourself out of that mindset when you're really intimately familiar with the subject. But boy, it really does prove beneficial, doesn't it? All right, so it is 9:47 p.m. and I have another stream I have to switch over here to shortly. So I want to go through and do one hot round here, and everybody can make their final comments for the net, and then we'll wrap it up. This is KD2IIN Net Control for the Sunday Night All Things Natural Net. We're going to start at the top list with KJ6KEE. Rich.
Hey, buddy. KJ6KEE, Richie and Wappingers. So, is the fox hunt annual, or is there a schedule for it generally, or is it just kind of good weather and everybody's schedule providing
Hey, Marie.
at the beginning
How are
until
you?
you have like a clear plan? Anyways, get back to me. Let me know about the next fox hunt. I'm definitely interested, even if it's a while off, just so I remember. If it's same time next year, let me know. But yeah, I'll be paying attention to the chats and the YouTube, the live YouTube with the nets. So I'll be paying attention. I'll be checking in.
Awesome, fantastic. Yeah, I don't think they've scheduled the next one yet, but I know that the talk on the repeater the other night, as I was coming home from work during the Daily Net, was about probably doing one on a larger scale area, more along the lines of like Rob was talking about, where going from vehicles. And I have to say that's the one that really interests me, for lots of reasons, which I won't just sit here and list because it would take too long. But yeah, there definitely will be more. I would say stay tuned into the website and make sure that your email is connected to the club stuff. You might be best to just email Dave, K2JLV @arrl.net, just to make sure. But I think you said in the comments here you got that email from that and just didn't prioritize it. So I hope that answers the questions. And then we'll roll on down to KD2SQ. Brian checked out. And then we'll go down to Bill, KD2UEN. Final comments for the net.
Yeah, CJ, KD2UEN here. I just had to recommend it for everybody.
Thanks, Brad.
Like Jim
Thanks.
said, you have to know your equipment before you go. Some of us, and I'm one of them, had my radio stuck on the 805, and so if you don't have your manual with you, you can have some problems. I did have my manual.
Thank
I just
you, Richard. Appreciate the
kept
chat,
hitting
the
the
super chat.
VFO button and setting it back into memory and not into setting the VFO. So I had a little problem with that. And
Thank you, Geeky.
my radio doesn't adjust for attenuation, so it was a little bit difficult there. But I'll have an attenuator the next time. I just ordered one today. So we'll put it back to you, CJ, and very enjoyable tonight. Hope everybody gets involved in the fox hunt. You'll really enjoy it. KD2UEN will be clear on the final here. Back to you, Ned.
All right. Thank you very much, Brad. And there was something else I was going to say. Oh, Brad and Ian, if you're still in here, a Canadian Beekeepers blog, you guys should check each other's channels out. Ian is a beekeeper commercial in Canada, and Brad is a seed producer. You guys should connect. All right, thank you very much, Bill. Sorry, I just had to comment on some comments here on the YouTube channel briefly. But thank you very much. I'm glad you came along. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad you learned from it. And yeah, I'm sure we're all looking forward to future versions and renditions of it. Let's roll on down to Rob, W2RWS, your final comments.
Yeah, two lessons learned. One is I carried a second radio with a speaker mic for the main frequency, because when I was on the offset and I was really removed, I could hear bupkis, and the repeater would repeat every minute or two. So I didn't know on the third harmonic whether I was listening for something. So it's good to have that second radio to tell me when the damn thing's transmitting. Secondly, QAK came really prepared and had a map and a clipboard, which I thought that was awesome. So then you can start doing triangulation. An iPad wouldn't be a bad idea because I got all my manuals on the iPad, although it's a little cumbersome to carry around. But if you wanted to look something up, because Steve was doing something with APRS in Morse code, transmitting the exact coordinates of the damn thing. But, oops, I got to brush up on my APRS. So those are my comments. Second radio, the map, and the iPad maybe with the manual.
Yeah, for sure. Excellent thoughts and insights on that. And yeah, there are actually ways to build radios set up in multiple locations where you can actually triangulate very quickly. But that's sort of cheating for the game of fox hunt that we're playing here. But yeah, thank you for sharing all that. I greatly appreciate it, and I'm sure those are excellent tips for anyone else who's here listening in the chat or here on the repeater as well. Let's roll on down to Jim, K2BHM. Your final comments?
K2BHM here. Yep, obviously
Thank
the
you,
math
Kiki.
was way over the limit, but Steve approached the concept that in building a Yagi, you can control the number of elements and the
You'll
space
appreciate
between
him,
elements to
You guys will both appreciate
optimize
each other.
the Yagi for certain particular applications, be it fox hunting or linking up to a satellite or general use, whatever, and introduce the concept of optimization. So it's out there. Good job. He covered everything very nicely. K2BHM.
Absolutely. I wasn't there, but I know Steve does excellent presentations and really knows the information he's doing presentations on backwards and forwards, and I'm sure that translated out into the field to the fox hunt. So yeah, excellent to have an excellent teacher like him. I don't know, have I said excellent enough tonight? Let's roll on down to KD2 TQS, Ken.
KD2 TQS. Comment for RFI. You're used to dealing with a elevated omnidirectional antenna. So yeah, just antenna in direction, go for it. What happens when your transmitter is on the ground, you're starting from a belly position, on an elevated position, on a plateau, surrounded on two sides by stones full of ferrous material, and tucked in the base of a tree with a lot of water in it. Apparently that really modified the signal greatly and made it a lot harder to find. So, yeah, it was interesting. Definitely learned a lot. So, back to that.
Well said, Ken. Well said. And yeah, that I think it's easy to forget just talking two-way that radio signal propagates in a three-dimensional, basically like an expanding ball. And so anything you have an effect on that, you can change how that ball shape looks as far as signal strength relative to the transmitter location. All right, let's roll on down to Bob, KD2 RFI, you're last on the list.
KD2 RFI. Well, I definitely appreciate tonight's conversation. I definitely learned a whole lot, and if I ever get the chance to head down that way, I'm definitely going to jump on board and, if nothing else, just watch us run around doing the fox hunt. I think that'd be pretty cool. It's always interesting to learn this new stuff. CJ, you said about doing the bigger one with the vehicles and all, and you have a reason for it. I may or may not have been on the air that night. You have a reason for it, but it was definitely it's a good skill to learn, if for nothing else, just to have fun with and learn more about the propagation and how the radio waves are actually moving around in different scenarios and circumstances. So definitely a lot to learn. Looking forward to it. KD2 RFI, send it back net.
Oh yeah. We had practical uses for it as well as just playing around, but we never really did anything on any official, official level. But we did find it to find people who were nuisance transmitters, even back on the CB days, and our fox hunting skills weren't and understanding weren't and aren't what they are today. But it was still a lot of fun. Anyway, thank you everyone for joining the net. I greatly appreciate it. I've got a couple announcements here, and then we're going to go and box this up. So every day at 8:35 a.m. and 6:30 p.m. here on the Overlook Mountain Amateur Radio Repeater, the OMARC 146.805 megahertz repeater, is the daily net. In the morning, Paul AC2UQ typically runs that net. In the evening, we have a rotating shift of net controllers. It's just sort of a way to check in and connect with other hams in the area. I'd encourage you to join those. Thursday nights at 8 p.m. is the Thursday night net. That is more amateur radio oriented and more technically oriented. We talk about amateur radios, Raspberry Pi, DMR, HF, antenna building, and on down the list. Always excellent participants. I hope you'll join that. And then, of course, tonight was the Sunday night All Things Natural Net on at 9 p.m. on Sundays. Thanks to everyone who participated in the net. This is KD2IIN saying 7-3, inviting you to join us again next week. This net is officially closed and its frequency is back under regular amateur use. Everyone have a great evening. Thanks for the great conversation. KD2IIN will be clear. I think actually he will like your channel even though you're a beekeeper. Yeah, I think he'll like your channel anyway. He's you guys are both insightful. You guys are really deep thinkers, and I think you'll both appreciate each other, regardless of what genre of farming you come from, so to speak. Anyway, you guys should connect and enjoy each other's channels. I'm sure you'll both learn something from each other, and I'm sure it'll facilitate an awesome conversation. Farmacy Yak Bees, my channel. Yeah, anyway, thank you, everyone. We're going to move over to the Paranormal Portal. Thank you, Geeky, for sharing the links. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you, Kirsten Lee and Richie. Very much for the super chats. I greatly appreciate that. It really does help support what I do here, and I'll look forward to seeing you guys on a Tuesday night, All Things Natural Net. If you're up still at 12 a.m. Eastern Time or 9 p.m. Pacific Time. Thanks to everyone who participated in chat and joined us, and hello to Cha Cha with the multiple rainbows. Everyone have a great evening, and we will see you over in the Paranormal Portal.
everybody, and welcome to the Paranormal Portal Night Terrors. It's time for the Night Terrors. These are our shorter format shows. I have to slow down before I just start slamming words together and creating a whole new language right before your very eyes, which is kind of a gift of mine, although I think I'm the only one that's fluent in whatever the hell it is I'm saying. But these are shorter format shows, generally about an hour long, so we do these in between the 2-hour shows, and this is, wow, it's Sunday night. This whole